Hi, Ernesto. Hi, Michael. Today we have a question that says, ideally, we should only do the things we are meant to do by prarabdha without desire. The thing is that many times we wish or don't wish what happens or what doesn't happen. By merely doing those actions without desire, we wouldn't be creating any agamya. By doing them with desire, even if it's meant to happen by our destiny, we are creating agamya. So, should we also be watching ourselves for any kind of desire that could rise in the doing of our actions? Is it possible to do a thing we typically like doing without the slightest trace of desire?
Right. um, Acting without desire is what is called nishkarmiya karma. And a person who and trying to do nishkarmiya karma is what is called karma yoga. And so a person who is acting without desire is called a karma yogi. Bhagavan has said only an Atmajnani can be a perfect karma yogi. The reason is, so long as there is ego, the very nature of ego is to have vasanas. And so long as we allow our attention to go away from ourselves, we are acting under the sway of our Vishaya vasanas to a greater or lesser extent. That is, the mere allowing our attention to move away from ourselves towards any other thing is itself, that is what drives us to attend to anything other than ourselves is our Vishaya vasanas. And as soon as we allow our attention to go away from ourselves, we are acting under the sway of our Vishaya vasanas to a greater or lesser extent. It doesn't mean that as soon as we allow our attention to go away from ourselves, we're a slave to our Vishaya vasanas. No, because the vasanas are only our inclinations. So we are always free either to follow our inclinations or not to follow them. We can see this in our day-to-day life because we all have multiple inclinations. And often our inclinations prompt us to go in different directions, often quite opposite directions. A very simple example. Supposing you're in the habit of smoking cigarettes, but you know smoking cigarettes is not good for you. You both have an inclination to smoke a cigarette and an inclination not to do so, because you know that if you do so, it's not good for you. That's just one example. I mean, there are so many examples. Whatever we all, in Bhagavan's path, we know that attending to anything other than ourselves is not good for us. As far as possible, we should avoid attending to the other thing by attending only to ourselves, by trying to attend only to ourselves. But though we know from Bhagavan's teaching that it's good to attend to ourselves, but the only means to perfect happiness is to attend to ourselves, still we have great liking, great inclination to attend to other things. So, for example, we may decide I'm going to attend to myself. But the very next moment, we may attend to ourselves for a moment or two, and the very next moment, our attention goes away to something else, because our inclination to attend to other things is stronger than our inclination to attend to ourselves. So what we are doing in the path of self-investigation and self-surrender, we are trying to cultivate what is called satvasana. Satvasana is inclination to know and to be what we actually are. In other words, the inclination to attend to ourselves is what we're trying to cultivate. And the more we attend to ourselves, the more we strengthen the inclination to attend to ourselves and weaken the inclination, all the inclinations to attend to other things. So this is what we're doing in the path of self-investigation and self-surrender. Because for most of us, our inclination to attend to other things is much stronger than our inclination to attend to ourselves. So most of the time, we are allowing our attention to go away from ourselves. This isn't what we should be doing, but in practice, this is what we are doing. Even though we know we shouldn't be doing this, we should be attending only to ourselves. Most of the time, our attention is going away from ourselves. when our attention goes away from ourselves towards anything else, as I say, we are under the sway of our Vishaya vasanas. That doesn't mean we're we're completely, we sometimes we may just give a free rein to our Vishaya vasanas and go wherever they take us. But generally, we are discriminating which inclination to follow, which inclination not to follow. And we try to minimize the extent to which we follow our inclinations to attend to things other than ourselves. But so long as we are attending to anything other than ourselves, we are, to a greater or lesser extent, under the sway of our Vishaya vasanas, acting under the sway of our Vishaya vasanas. So allowing our attention away from ourselves gives rise to thoughts. Thoughts are mental activities. Mental activities give rise to activities of speech and to activities of the body. So as soon as we allow our attention to go away from ourselves, we are inevitably, to a greater or lesser extent, doing agamya. The important thing is to understand it to a greater or lesser extent. We try to minimize the extent by not allowing ourselves to be swayed excessively by our Vishaya vasanas, but we are still being swayed by them to some extent. So long as we're not attending only to ourselves, we are being swayed by our Vishaya vasanas. So this is why Bhagavan said, an Atma-jnani alone can be a good karma yogi, because an Atma-jnani the Atma-jnani is one in whom ego has been completely destroyed. In the absence of ego, vasanas are ego's vasanas. So all vasanas are destroyed along with ego. So whatever actions may be done by the body, speech, or mind of the jnani are not driven by vasanas, is driven entirely by the prarabdha of that mind, speech, and body. Just to clarify, that doesn't mean that the jnani actually has prarabdha. Bhagavan has said, all the three karmas will cease when the doer is destroyed. The doer is ego. But the body, speech, and mind of the jnani doesn't exist in the view of the jnani, only in the view of the ajnani. So, for example, we see Bhagavan, we see him as a person with a body, speech, and mind. And he's doing certain actions, he's cutting vegetables in the kitchen, or he's writing poems, or he's walking around Arunachala. So he's doing actions by body. He's doing actions by speech, because people come and ask him questions, he answers. And he also seems to us to be doing actions by mind, because he writes poetry and he gives very deep answers to our questions. So it seems to us that there's a person with mind, speech, and body doing actions by all these three instruments. That's in our view. So it is said, all those actions of the jnani are according to prarabdha, or according to what is destined to happen, because the jnani has no vasanas. So whatever actions that body, speech, and mind are doing is according to prarabdha, or to put it more simply, is according to the will of God.
But the prarabdha only in the view of the jnani.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Because the body, speech, and mind of the jnani are only in the view of the ajnani.
Yes.
For the jnani, there is no body, no mind, no speech, and therefore no karma of any kind whatsoever.
Is it relevant at all watching, looking for the desire in our actions? Because the question is...
No, that is why I was going to come to that.
Okay.
The question was worded, so should we also be watching ourselves for any kind of desire that could rise in the doing of our actions? We can cut that sentence short. So should we be watching ourselves? Yes. Watching ourselves doesn't mean watching the thoughts or the desires or anything else. Watching ourselves means watching only I. We should be self-attentive. The more we are self-attentive, the more our vasanas are automatically being curbed, because the vasanas, we are under the sway of our vasanas only when we allow our attention to go away from ourselves. If we don't allow if we hold fast to self-attentiveness, we are giving no room for the vasanas to sway us. So merely being self-attentive, that is the way to avoid being swayed by vasanas, and being swayed by avoiding being swayed by vasanas is the way to avoid doing agamya, because whatever action we do under the sway of our vasanas, whether actions by mind, speech, or body, they are agamya. It may also, as we said in the question, it may also be according to prarabdha. Some of the actions we do are according to prarabdha, but if we're also swayed to do that by our vasanas, that means for example, it may be our destiny to go on a nice holiday this summer. But almost certainly we will have a liking to go on a nice holiday this summer. So just the fact that we are going on that holiday is according to destiny doesn't mean that it is not also agamya. So long as there's even the slightest liking to enjoy that nice holiday, it is agamya, because we are acting under the sway of our vasanas.
Yes,
we're acting both under the sway of prarabdha and the vasanas in that case.
Can I read one phrase that you this was part of a conversation that you had with Sanjay, a friend of ours?
Yes.
And if I can mention one example of the conversation where he said that I had asked Michael if we go to a pub, could it be that it was our destiny to go to that pub? And you said about that. We shouldn't be bothered about such questions. What we should be concerned about is whether or not we desire to visit that pub or not. In other words, we should find out whether we visited the pub driven by our Vishaya vasanas. But isn't that impossible, Michael, in finding out whether we visited the pub based on our, there was some liking to go to that pub, as you said. It was the prarabdha.
We can be sure, as I say, if we are allowing our attention to go away from ourselves, we are to a greater or lesser extent acting under the sway of our Vishaya vasanas. So we need not analyze our actions to see whether they're motivated by desire or not. We should understand when our attention goes away from ourselves, we are under the sway of our vasanas. So what should we do? Turn our attention back to ourselves. Of course, sometimes when we're involved in action, we have to use our power of discrimination. That is, all sorts of vasanas arise in the mind. Some are more harmful than others. For example, we may have an inclination to watch pornography or watch football. If you had to choose between the two, probably watching football is less harmful than watching pornography. But even football can be harmful if you get very passionate. My team has to win, and you get very excited. The more our attention goes away from ourselves, the greater the enthusiasm with which our attention is going away from ourselves, the more harmful it is. Because our aim is to attend to ourselves. That is the supreme good. Attending to anything other than ourselves is less good. But it's better if we are faced with three choices. Maybe our choices are between watching pornography or watching football, or maybe listening to watching a film about Bhagavan. Obviously, watching a film about Bhagavan is better than watching football or pornography, because it brings us closer back to the subject. So in action, we have to, when we're allowing our attention to go away from ourselves, we have to discriminate and try as far as possible to, if at all we're to be swayed by our vasanas, let us be swayed by good vasanas rather than bad vasanas. But of course, good and bad are only relative terms. All vasanas, other than satvasana, are ultimately bad.
Because include the subvasana, the subhavasanas, no, or the sattvasanas.
Yeah.
Are included
that is, Vishaya vasanas are of two kinds: Vishaya vasanas and karma vasanas. Karma vasanas and Vishaya vasanas are more or less one and the same. Vishaya vasana means our inclination to experience Vishayas, objects or phenomena. Karma vasanas are our inclinations to act. But why are we inclined to act? Because we do actions because we want to experience Vishayas. So every karma vasana, there's a Vishaya vasana in it. So those karma vasanas and Vishaya vasanas, they can be classified as subha and asubha. Subha means those that are more agreeable. Asubha are those that are more disagreeable. But of course, it's not a simple case of black and white. All vasanas, that is it's different shades of grey. Some are very, very bad. Some are very, very good, or relatively good, at least. And a lot of somewhere in between. Not entirely bad or not entirely good.
But karma vasanas are those the actions that we act upon based on our free will.
Karma vasanas is the inclination to act. The inclination to do any action is a karma vasana. Mm-hmm. But why are we inclined to do actions? Because we want to experience some Vishaya.
So those actions that are determined by prarabdha are not karma vasanas.
No. Prarabdha is the fruit of actions that we have done in the past under the sway of our vasanas. So the prarabdha, it is not actually prarabdha. That is, Bhagavan worded it very carefully in that note he wrote for his mother. He said, according to the prarabdha, according to the prarabdha of each person, adakanavan, he who is for that, angangirindu artavipam, being there, being in each place, in other words, being in the heart of each of them, makes them dance or makes them act. So what makes us act in accordance with prarabdha is God or Guru. That is, we are made by God or Guru to do actions that will facilitate our experiencing the prarabdha. Because in order to experience our prarabdha, there are certain actions we have to do. If it's my prarabdha today to be hit by a car while crossing the road, I will make a bad judgment and run across the road, and the car's coming too fast, and so I get hit by it. So my decision to cross the road at that particular moment, there are terms for that. There are technical terms both in Sanskrit and Tamil. In Sanskrit, it's called buddhi karma anusarini. I mean, the intellect is following the karma. Karma there means the prarabdha karma. So because it's my prarabdha karma to be hit by a car, I make a wrong judgment, and and so I act, and I get hit by the car. There's an equivalent term in Tamil, vidimati sallam. Vidimati sallam means the fate is driving the intellect. Their mati means intellect, but it could also be the fate is also driving the will. Could also, but mati in some contexts can mean will also.
Yes, because finally the prarabdha creates into the experience of the body, speech, and mind all the resources that is necessary to happen. Finally, by the speech, by the mind, by the body.
Prarabdha is the fruit of actions we've done in the past. Fruit here means what is to be experienced.
Yeah.
So prarabdha is only determining what we are to experience. The actions that we have to do in order to experience the prarabdha, we are made to do by God.
Yes.
That's why Bhagavan said, that's why he says, according to the prarabdha, he who is for that is a way of saying God or Guru, the one who ordains the fruits who selected the prarabdha for us. He will make us act in such a way as to experience the prarabdha.
What I want to say is that each Kriya Svatantra operates in some occasions, in some cases, according with the fate, no? Okay.
it's not according to a fate. It happens to coincide with the fate.
Harmony, no? In alignment.
That is our Icha Kriya Sutantra. That's our freedom to will and to act is totally independent of fate. Sometimes it happens to coincide. It's your destiny to have a nice holiday this summer, and it's that it happen. Well, let's say you have a liking to have a nice holiday this summer. You're trying your best to have a nice holiday this summer. It just happens to coincide with your destiny, which is to have a nice holiday this summer. You cannot say your liking to have that holiday is according to prarabdha.
No, in this way, I said, no, that when there is a correspondence, no?
Yes.
Yes.
Two
aspects, no? The will and the fate are in harmony to the destiny becomes. No?
But that is coincidence. Though there happens to be a correspondence, it's not that the fate is causing us to want that. It's not that our wanting that is causing the fate. They're two completely independent things. They just happen to sometimes sometimes coincide. In fact, often it happens. Most of the whatever pleasant experience we are destined to experience, we also like to experience most of those things.
That's what I was going to say. That of course, if you're going to enjoy some summer holidays, you're not forced to go there to catch a plane, to go somewhere else. Of course, I mean, because if you like it,
you will. Even if you don't want to have a summer holiday, somehow or other you'll be made to have that holiday.
Yeah, exactly. But usually you like it. I mean, you are not forced to.
Usually we like it.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
I think there is.
We may tell ourselves, "Oh, I'm only going on this holiday because my family wants to go on the holiday." We may tell ourselves, but in our heart of hearts, we have a liking to go on that holiday.
I think that is a very interesting point in when you don't know what you really desire more than the superficial desire that you are conscious about it. No? When, for example, you don't know that you you want to have an accident, for example. You don't know that you want to have an accident, and you are thinking about the fear in relation to the accidents of the traffic of the car. No, maybe you think about it too many times, and you have the intuition that you will die in an accident in the car, for example. No, but your superficial desire, that is what you are aware about it, is only I don't want to have an accident in my car. But this profound desire finally occurs, and you have what the prarabdha is destined to happen. No, that I think in this case, these desires, these fears, all of these are an expression of what prarabdha karma express in the jiva to finally my English, sorry, to finally become the confluence, no, what we said before, no.
I think what you're saying, it may apply to some people. Some people who may have certain desires that they are in denial about. They may not recognize their desires, and they may act in order to bring about. For example, just to give an example, someone may dislike the job that they have to do, and they may have I wish I could somehow or other avoid this job, and that liking to avoid that job may seem to prompt them to do something that leads to an accident, so they're then disabled and they're no longer able to work, so they have to live on disability pension or something. But that is people. That may be there may be such psychological cases we are now, we need not be concerned about such things, because now we're on the spiritual path. And when we're on the spiritual path, the more we're turning our attention within, the more clearly we'll be aware of our vasanas at their seed form. The seed form of the desires are vasanas. So because of our turning our attention within, we become more sensitized, more our power of perception becomes clearer. So we're able to see the desires in their seed form. We're able to see how the inclination sprouts into the form of a desire.
The beginning, no? The beginning of the inclination, no, to desire.
Yes. So if we're following this spiritual path, we will know very well what our inclinations are. But someone who is not, who's totally worldly, their mind is only going outwards, who's never made any attempt to turn within, they may have desires that they are not willing to acknowledge, or they conceal from themselves. So, but that need not concern us. When we're talking about this subject of karma, what we need to understand is what is destined to happen is absolutely fixed. It cannot be changed. That is, we cannot experience anything that we are not destined to experience. We cannot avoid experiencing what we are destined to experience, so long as we allow our mind to go outwards. We can avoid all prarabdha by turning our mind within, but so long as we're allowing our mind outwards, we have to experience whatever is we're destined to experience. So whatever we like or dislike or desire or anything, our will cannot in any way change the prarabdha. We can try to change it. If I have a strong liking to avoid something, I can try to avoid it. I don't want to get sick, so I try very hard to keep myself healthy. I go to the gym. I try and eat healthy food and whatever. I can try like that. But if it's my destiny to get sick, I'm going to get sick. However, whatever healthy lifestyle I live, but if the destiny is for me to become sick, I'm going to become sick somehow or other, in spite of everything.
So at the same time, Michael, there is not mistakes in whatever you desire or no desire in relation with your finally you need to live, no? Because all the desires that you have, neutral or against the destiny, or in line with the what you need to live, you have a learning in all of this, no? In all this experience, no?
And yes. But the thing is, the point I'm trying to emphasize, the point that Bhagavan made very clear, is that though we are free to want anything, and to a certain extent we are free to try to achieve what we want to experience, we are not at all free to experience it unless it is in our prarabdha. That is, prarabdha is absolutely fixed. What we are to experience in this lifetime, that is fixed. But though the prarabdha is fixed, predetermined, that doesn't have any impact on our liking. It may be my destiny to be sick or to be poor or to be something. That doesn't mean I have to like that. I may strongly dislike being poor. I may strongly dislike being unhealthy. I may have great desire to be healthy and to be wealthy. But if it's not my destiny, I cannot experience that. So our will and our destiny are two entirely independent domains. The will cannot change the destiny in any way, and the destiny cannot change the will. That is, just because I'm destined to be poor doesn't stop me wanting to be rich. And that's just because I'm destined to be unhealthy doesn't stop me wanting to be healthy.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's where surrender comes in, right? Because I mean, if
surrender has nothing to do with prarabdha. Surrender is about our will. Are we willing to accept prarabdha? Prarabdha is fixed, but another name for prarabdha is God's will, because the prarabdha, though it is the fruit of actions that we've done in the past, it is a selection of the fruit of actions, because generally speaking, in every lifetime, we accumulate far more fruit than we exhaust. That is because the nature of the mind is always to desire much more than it can experience. So in every lifetime, we are maybe exhausting one lifetime worth of fruit, but accumulating 100 lifetimes worth of new fruit. So the sanchita, the store of actions that we've done in the past, it's a huge pile. The word sanchita means a pile or a heap. That's give an idea of how vast it is. It's a big mountain of fruit. From that vast mountain of fruit, of the fruit of our past actions that we haven't yet experienced, from that vast pile, God selects a few for us to experience in this lifetime. God means we can say God or Guru or Bhagavan, whatever we want to. That's why Bhagavan used a very neutral term, Adakanavan, he who is for that. He who is for that will select it. So because it's selected by him, whatever happens in our life is God's will, is Guru's will, Bhagavan's will. So if we, on the path of surrender, ultimately our aim is to surrender ourselves. But what prevents us surrendering ourselves here and now? We don't want to surrender ourselves. We still want to hold on to our individuality, our separate existence. So in order to surrender ourselves, surrender has to start with surrendering our will. Not completely. We can't surrender our will completely without surrendering ourselves. But we have to at least begin partially surrendering our will. So how do we surrender our will? Whatever happens is his will. So your will be done. Your will is my will. I have no will of my own. Whatever you want, I'm happy with that. That's why Bhagavan sings in verse 2 of Aranachapatikam, Ninishtam enishtam. Your will is my will. Imbadaku. That is happiness for me.
Mm-hmm. Yes, in that sense, Michael, the surrender in the sense that you have to surrender your will of changing anything outside or deriving happiness from anything which is outside, and what's left for me to do. I mean,
that means surrendering our will means giving up our likes and dislikes. So
ultimately surrender ourselves.
But so if we have no likes and dislikes, it doesn't matter whether we're rich or poor, whether we're healthy or unhealthy, because it's all, whatever happens, it's all his will. So it's all happiness for me. I accept whatever happened as his will. I've got no likes or dislikes of my own. That is the surrendered state of mind. And the more we are free of likes and dislikes, of course, so long as there's ego, there will be likes and dislikes to a greater or lesser extent. But the more our likes and dislikes are minimized, the more we'll be willing to surrender ourselves.
And so going back to the commentary that you wrote to Sanjay about visiting the path, what you meant by that is that what we should be concerned about is whether we desire to visit in the path or not. That means whether we allow our attention to go outwards while visiting the path.
I can't clearly remember what the context was or what I said to Sanjay, but I didn't mean that we should be analyzing our desires. That is, we know so long as the mind is going outwards, it's under the sway of vasanas. That is what we want to avoid by turning within. Of course, when our attention does go outwards, we have to act in a if at all we're to allow ourselves to be swayed by our vasanas, we should try to be swayed only by the subha vasanas rather than the asubha vasanas.
Yeah, it seems strange for me that the words the way you worded it was we should be analyzing whether we have desire or.
As I say, I can't remember what the context was or what exactly I said.
Okay.
What I said would have been according to the context, but I certainly didn't mean that we should be. Of course, we have to. At a more superficial level, we have to be aware of our motives. When we're doing any action, what is motivating me? We have to be aware of that. But that's not our main aim. Our main aim is to investigate ourselves. But
I have here the text.
The more we're investigating ourselves, the more we'll be able to understand our desires at the seed level. We'll be able to see how the inclination sprouts into a liking, and then sprouts in and grows into a desire.
I say that I have here the text of this chat with Sanjay and Carlos. Once I can read it. Carlos, suppose you have an urge to go hiking and you are able to go hiking. That means your will and destiny are working in synchrony in this case. Suppose you meet with an accident while you are hiking. That accident was purely according to your destiny because obviously you didn't want the accident to happen. Our prarabdha can never prompt us to do or not do anything. Whatever prompts us to act or not to act is only our vasanas. It is not necessary to find out whether a particular action is driven by our vasana or by destiny. It is not only futile to find this out, but is it even not possible to accurately figure out these things? If we have a desire to visit a path, we are definitely driven by our vasanas, our Visaya vasanas, to visit the path. We can feel or experience such desires within our mind whenever they arise in us. However, we should not spend our time and energy mulling over these things. Our only task is to investigate who has this will and who is driven to act according to fate.
Yes, that's the thing. That's the main point at the end. There was one bit there, but I'm not sure whether I heard it correctly or whether, if it was what I said, it doesn't quite seem to be correct. That is our, or I'm not sure whether I heard you correctly, but the thing is,
this is an answer that Sanjay wrote to me.
Okay.
He wrote to me in reply to something I asked.
Oh, okay. So based on what I said, okay. Exactly. That is the thing is the destiny isn't causing our desires. Our desires are not causing the destiny. Sometimes they coincide, but the that is supposing it's to take this example. We have a desire to go hiking, and we meet an accident. Our going hiking was driven both by our desire and by the destiny. That is, because we were destined to go hiking, we couldn't avoid it. Even if we didn't want to go hiking, something would have pushed us in that direction. For some reason or other, we would have gone, even if we hadn't wanted to. But the fact is, often the actions we do in accordance, the actions we are made to do by God in accordance with our prarabdha are often actions that we are also made to do by our desires.
Yes, in this sense, we can say that the fate has an influence in the will.
No, the fate has no influence on the will at all.
I explain. If you need to want one thing, to
Yes.
experiment or act
Yes.
in way for the finally complement of the prarabdha,
Yeah.
you will want that. For example,
No. That is, in order to experience our prarabdha, there are certain actions we need to do. We will do those actions, but we don't have to want to do those actions. Those actions don't have to be driven by our will. Prarabdha has that is, our will and prarabdha, they're two entirely separate domains.
Yes, but if I insist, if I need to want to go to the path and to drink whiskey, to find this is a vasana that is in me.
Yeah. Yes.
And this expression of my vasana to drink whiskey is according alignment with the prarabdha in this case.
Yes. But here there are two things. Your action, drinking whiskey, it may be according to the prarabdha, because it's your destiny to be drunk today, so you drink the whiskey. You also have a liking to drink the whiskey. It is not the prarabdha that is influencing your liking, or the liking that is influencing the prarabdha. The two just happen to be coinciding.
Only when it's necessary to the final result, my desire and my wanting of whiskey.
Yes. You may want whiskey, but if it's not your destiny, you won't get the whiskey. So yes. It's only whenever we get something that we want, it is not because we want it. It's because our destiny happens to coincide with that particular desire. It's not that the destiny is causing that desire, or that the desire is causing the destiny. The two are independent.
But it's necessary in some cases that there is this confluence.
It's not even necessary. If it was your destiny to drink whiskey, and you've turned your attention within you, you are completely surrendered. Your body, speech, and mind will drink the whiskey somehow or other.
Only in the circumscription.
It seems to us, but that is the thing is, because we are constantly acting under the sway of our vasanas. In other words, we're acting according to our likes and dislikes, our desires, and so on. It seems to us that whatever action we do is we do it because we wanted to do it. But even if those actions that we are destined to do, we would do them even if we didn't want to do them.
Yes.
It's not actually that we're destined to do that. That's why I tried to clarify this. It's Bhagavan was very precise in that answer to his mother. The prarabdha is just the fruit of our past action. So prarabdha itself doesn't make us act. It is God who makes us act in accordance with our prarabdha.
Not only the fruit of the past action, the fruit of the past intentions, the past desires, no?
The actions that bear fruit are agamya. And agamya are those actions that are driven by our vasanas, but we do under the sway of our vasanas. So yes, these are past. That is, if we had no intention to do that or no liking to do that, if our vasanas were not involved in that action, then it wouldn't bear fruit. That is why in verse 2 of Upadesha Undiyar, Bhagavan says, it's put in a very terse way, but I'll paraphrase just to make the meaning clear. The fruit of actions pass away. Why do they pass away? Because as soon as you experience the fruit of an action, you can't experience it again. That for each action, there's one fruit. Once that fruit is experienced, it's finished. You can't eat a mango or an apple twice. You can only eat it once. So the fruit of action passes away. But though the fruit of action passes away, whenever we do an action, there are two results. One is the fruit that gets stored in sanchita, may later be experienced as prarabdha. The other is the seed. The seed is the vasana. So Bhagavan says, the fruit of action passes away, but as seed, it throws one into the ocean of action. So the cause of all karma is the vasanas. What he refers to there as seed are the vasanas.
It's like the fruit of the action
yes.
Disappear, and
yes.
the seed of this fruit
yes.
It goes inside the vasana to increase that.
Yes. But the vasanas are like seeds. Seeds need to be kept in a fresh condition. Supposing you've got some seeds and you roast them over a fire, they will no longer have any power to sprout. So the vasanas are like that. The more we nourish the vasanas by allowing them, whenever a vasana sprouts, it will sprout in form of a liking, a desire, a thought, and it begins, the first sprouting is a liking. Then it develops a little further into a desire. It develops further into thought. That is the way it goes. The more we allow the vasana to grow, to sprout, and to lead our attention away from ourselves, the more we are nourishing and sustaining those seeds. But the more we turn our attention back to ourselves, the more we are roasting the seeds. And the more the seeds get roasted, the more they lose their power.